Hello, welcome back to my channel. So, today I'm going to talk about the series premiere of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. It came out yesterday, debuted yesterday. At least yesterday as of when I'm recording this. You know, depends on when you're watching it. But anyway, so yeah, I watched it last night, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good way to start the new series, and really set up a mission statement for the show, which is what the first episode of any series should do. Is it should be a mission statement. It should tell you what to expect, and this show does that. Um, it makes clear that it is very much a classic Trek series. It's very much intended as a throwback to the same type of show that the original series was, and which Next Generation was as well. Uh, about more of a rather than being an overarching plot throughout the seasons. It's looking to be more of an adventure of the week type show. I'm sure there's going to be obviously running arcs throughout the series. I'm sure that there'll be probably probably certain character arcs that'll run throughout as characters get developed and all that. Um, Possibly subplots that sort of build up and pay off. There may be some of that. I don't know yet. I'll admit I haven't really looked too much into too much detail about that sort of thing. But yeah, the clear intention is obviously to make it a throwback series, and that is made clear right from the opening theme, because they brought back the monologue, the space, the final frontier. They got Anson Mount as Captain Pike, giving the whole space, the final frontier speech in the opening, which is a really effective way of telling long-term viewers what to expect. It's a really effective way of laying out the mission statement, laying out that this is intended to be a classic Star Trek series. And I've mentioned this before in every video I've done about any of the current Star Trek shows. I've mentioned that I really like how they are giving each show its own niche. Discovery is very much a contemporary Star Trek series, very much a contemporary series. Syndicated stories and or not syndicated stories, but each season has its own plot that runs throughout. Um, Lower Decks is the funny Star Trek. Picard is kind of the old person Star Trek. I feel like it's the because there's a lot of elderly, like there's a lot of older actors in Picard. Um, but Picard is the show that sort of builds on uh, existing stories. Prodigy is the all ages Star Trek. So I like that each Star Trek series going on right now has its own feel, its own vibe. It's doing its own thing, and it's really cool that they have done Strange New Worlds as the classic show. I know a lot of people out there have had issues with the a lot of modern treks just because of the fact that it doesn't feel like the shows that they remember. Um, I've made the point before that Discovery is very much a Star Trek show. It is very much real Star Trek. But I understand that a lot of people do want something that feels like what they loved. Um, and it's nice that Strange New Worlds is there as to fill that role, to give the that audience what they like, and to give the regular Star Trek audience something that is just another good show. Um, and right off, also kind of nice that right off the bat, very first episode, and we've got sort of we've got complications regarding the Prime Directive, which isn't called the Prime Directive yet. It's General Order 1, I think they still call it here, if I remember correctly. Um, though there is mention that there's talk of renaming it to the Prime Directive, which is a fun little nod. Anyway, so yeah, right off the bat, they're handling that. And also, right off the bat, they are laying out an optimistic view of the future. Acknowledging the difficulties that we face right now. Um, and laying out that we very well may end up screwing ourselves over, but also setting up that optimistic tone that we can be better than our worst natures. We can be better than our conflicts. So that's always been one of my favorite things about Star Trek is the optimism. And this show really, this debut really lays that in. Uh, Beyond that, some fantastic performances. Anson Mount is so good as Captain Pike. Um, the character didn't really have much personality in the pilot of the original series. Um, Mount fills them with so much character and so much pathos. Uh, he just does a phenomenal job. He is really, really good. Um, Ethan Peck remains solid as Spock. Very different take, I feel, from Nimoy, but it's sort of a younger version of Spock compared to the original series. and he does do a really good job. And I kind of like that they set up, that they had to Pring there, his fiance, his what? Yeah, fiance, and I really like that they set up a conflict between them, where she wants him to be with her. She wants him on Vulcan so that they can be together, while he is drawn to the Enterprise and to space. Um, I feel like that does a good job setting up the sort of conflict that would eventually lead to the original series episode where um, where T'Pring sort of tricks Spock into breaking off the marriage so she can be with someone else. She's the episode really shows that she is, by Vulcan standards, kind of passionate, driven more by emotion than Vulcans usually are. Um, so that was actually a really good scene, I thought. Uh, Christina Chong is really good as Lon Noonien Singh. I'm curious how her relation to Khan will be addressed, or if it'll even be addressed, because she is related to Khan Noonien Singh. Uh, I'm curious if that's going to be a thing, like if it's going to be like how that'll be explored. Uh, we didn't really get to see a whole lot of Rebecca Romaine as number one in this episode, but what little we did see got to, showed that she was um, a very competent and serious woman. So, um, excited for her. Uh, Jess Bush as Christine Chapel was a very interesting take on the character. Because in the original series, Nurse Chapel was a fairly serious woman, while here she is a lot more playful. Um, Again, I guess that's just she's younger compared to the original series. Um, so yeah, it's just interesting to see that different take on her. Um, we didn't really get to see much of Ortegas this episode, but what little we did see was made her seem pretty interesting. Um, Celia Rose Gooding as Uhura. Uh, she seems like she'll probably do a really good job. Dr. Rambenga, I like him. He's very cool. And he actually does come from the original series as well. He was a secondary doctor on the Enterprise. He showed up in a few episodes of the original series. Though again, they've got a little bit of a different take here. Basically, he's got an accent now, um, and has more of a personality than he ever really got to develop in the original series, because he didn't get much screen time in the original series, so he never got much to do there, so never had much of a personality. Uh, so yeah, really good cast, and I'm very interested in seeing what happens between them. And looking forward to seeing how the relationships between the crew develop. Yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing those friendships, those bonds form. And and we only and he only shows up at the very end of the episode. But yeah, there's also the chief engineer, who is played by a blind guy, which is really cool. I Speaking of which, I really like the that Strange New Worlds is continuing the franchise's current efforts to be more diverse in its casting. Uh, it's not often you see a blind actor in a major role in a major TV series. So I'm really interested to see what happens with him. I'm really interested to see how he develops. Um, the visuals are really good. They do a really good job with the aesthetics. One minuscule uh, complaint. This is just the tiniest quibble. I do wish that the first shot of the Enterprise, like the scene of Pike on a shuttle approaching uh, the Enterprise in dry dock, I wish that had been just a little bit longer, just a little bit more cinematic. They only had so much time, so it's understandable why they didn't spend more time on it. It would have been cool. It would have been nice just because it is the original Enterprise, you know? I mean, like, Star Trek the Motion Picture, it's sort of shot of the Enterprise in dry dock was super long. Probably a little bit too long. But it was also really cool and a very powerful scene. And I just wish that they'd been able to get just a little bit more of that in this episode. But like I said, the tiniest quibble, and especially given that in the scene, Pike is Pike is still very reluctant to return to the ship uh, because of events that had happened in the second season of Discovery. Uh, so it's understandable that they wouldn't. It's thematically fitting that they wouldn't spend more time, uh, you know, gliding over the ship, doing camera views, gliding over the ship, and all that. Um, and I do like that Pike is suffering PTSD from from knowing what's going to happen to him, from knowing that he's going to be so badly injured that he ends up in a you know, completely paralyzed in a chair where he can only beep to communicate. So I like that he's clearly suffering PTSD from that, and I hope that that remains a plot point, that it remains a character trait. Not something that they have to dwell on over much. They spent a fair bit of time exploring it in this episode, but so they don't really need to hammer on it all that much. But I hope that it's not something that he just gets over. I do hope that it's something that just remains sort of a an occasional character point. And speaking of events and discovery, I also appreciate Spock mentioning that he misses his sister. And speaking of relatives that we never knew existed, apparently James Kirk's brother Sam is going to be part of the cast on this one. I don't think or did we know? I'm trying to remember if we actually knew that Kirk actually had a brother. Uh, there might have been a reference to a brother actually in either the original series or in one of the movies. Maybe I'm wrong. I might be. Yes. Okay. So yeah, it was mentioned that he had a brother. Like, I honestly couldn't remember, but yeah, it is mentioned in the original series that he has a brother. So okay, so that didn't come out of nowhere. So never mind. I'm being silly. But yeah, it's cool that we actually get to see his brother. Let's that's neat. Yeah, I guess that his brother did show up in one episode of the original series as well, um, where he was killed off. Yeah, I like that his brother's going to be part of the crew. That is actually pretty cool. That we'll get to see him develop more. Um, so yeah, it's a fantastic start. It's a great first episode to the new series, and I am very excited to see where the show goes, to see how it develops. And season 2 of Picard has also finished. I'll have a review of that in a few days. Um, but for now, that's my thoughts on Strange New Worlds. So let me know what you thought of the first episode. And for now, thanks for watching.